Caleb, you asked me this morning, you said this is Tennessee's biggest game since when? And I said pretty easy, 2001 SEC championship game. If they beat LSU in that game, which they should have done because LSU was without its starting running back and tailback for the second half and essentially relied on draw plays, then Tennessee would have played Miami in the Rose Bowl, likely been around an 8 to 10 point underdog, maybe even 12 to 13. Caleb probably wouldn't have won that game, but you never know. And you're playing for 2 championships within 4 years. That's pretty heady stuff.
Oh, I agree. And it's, it's interesting you say that because where this one feels totally different, and we're going to compare the biggest games Tennessee's played in, including that one in recent years. But I feel like the difference is Tennessee is actually excited to play this game, whereas in the 2001 SEC title, fans were just hoping to get past that game to go to the Rose Bowl. They didn't really appreciate the fact that they were playing for an SEC title, did they?
Yeah, and you know what Peyton Manning said about that?
They're like, that is total bullshit.
Thank you. Cooper, what should we do?
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
What down, Coop?
Coop here. First down.
All right, the biggest games that Tennessee's played in recently, you go just real recently, 2022, Georgia, at Georgia. A win there, and Tennessee has ascended even quicker than they have under Josh Heupel by beating Georgia, but I think still there's a little bit of a ground to overtake before you beat Georgia on a regular basis.
Yeah, the reason that one was so big was that, for those, that was before the Columbia collapse. And Tennessee had beaten Alabama earlier in the year. Tennessee was number 1 in the college football playoff. It was a top 5 matchup in November between 2 undefeated teams. Tennessee hadn't been in a game of that magnitude in over 20 years at that point. And it was, it had everything going for it until kickoff when it became very clear that Georgia was significantly the better team. Yep. Honestly.
Especially I thought that their corners and receivers won battles that I didn't think they necessarily would this deep into Heupel's career. All right, what down is next, Coop?
Cooper Mays here. Second down.
I went a little ad nauseum into the 2001 SEC title game, but I still think that's the most significant loss financially and impactful in Tennessee sports history.
Yes, it is. And what's funny is because I talked about, Tennessee was 3 years removed from winning the national title and back-to-back SEC titles. I think what hurts worse is they didn't take that SEC title game seriously and the opportunity, and then in later years, it wasn't about winning a national title, but they realized that they had an SEC title drought on, and that SEC title drought wouldn't seem as big if they had actually taken that 2001 game seriously. It's because they.
Well, I don't think that anybody didn't take the 2001 game seriously.
Dave, you're the one who told me they were handing out orange roses after they beat.
They were. I wasn't.
This was just. But it was LSU. I think that's they're not the LSU now, not the Nick Saban now. This was an 8-3 LSU team, and it's just I hear a lot of, and we were about to get to the other game that had this type of magnitude, but you hear about the hangover effect from the previous week's game. But Dave, the reason I never buy that is, Steve Spurrier in Florida always had to play Florida State before the SEC title in the 90s. They didn't have a hangover when they went to the SEC title game after playing that game.
No. Totally agree. All right. What down is next there, young Cooper?
Tennessee center Cooper Mays here. Third down.
By the way, did you see where somebody posted on the YouTube channel said you just love watching Dave interview Cooper because he's like a proud father? I'm not. 2001 at Florida. That was a pretty monstrous one, but I'd still have to give the SEC title game, which was the next week, the advantage.
Yeah, the 2001 Florida one. I'm actually gonna break from you on this. I think 2001 Florida was a little bit bigger. Now 2001 SEC title was bigger than any game that Tennessee's played in since this upcoming game on Saturday, or Georgia 2022. But again, heading into the 2001 SEC title game, not during the game, but heading into the game, it didn't seem like a big game because everybody just felt like Tennessee was going to win, right? No one took LSU seriously. Whereas Florida, it was a matchup of 2 top 5 teams and playing to be number 2 and go to the Rose Bowl. And I think, and to go play for the SEC title. And I think for Tennessee fans, there was a lot of fight because people were so angry at that line. I still can't understand how Vegas set the line at 18 in that game. Worst line in college football history.
No, it was high, but I still would have had it around 13 or 14. You?
Really? I would have had it around 4. I would have had Florida by 4. Florida beat Tennessee by 4 the year before. The previous 3 games had all been within 1 score. Now, I think what people saw, you remember that was, it's funny to say it now, but Rex Grossman statistically had by far 2001 the best year of any Spurrier quarterback. and he was lighting it up, and he was the Heisman favorite. And Tennessee was, I think, style points were hurting Tennessee because they were winning games 17-10, 24-14, things like that. And Florida was out here winning games 71-0. But I think it was just what people didn't realize. It was a total clash of styles. And I mean, I'll just never forget how the 2001 Florida game, Tennessee just manhandled Florida on the line of scrimmage on both sides.
Yep. All right. And this one obviously has to be bigger.
All SEC center Cooper Mays here. 4th down.
The 98 national championship game is bigger, correct?
Correct. But the question is this the biggest game since the 98 national championship game? Or does 01 Florida, 01 LSU, or 22 Georgia, were any of those bigger than this upcoming game?
I will say 01 Florida because of the way that was played out and what happened in the wake of 9/11.
You'd say that was bigger going in than this one?
Yeah. It felt like the entire nation was tuned in, like, when it was the September game.
Yeah. And for our younger viewers, by the way, I know many people will be like, well, this one's a playoff game, but during that time, these regular season top 5 matchups late in the year were playoff games. It was the exact same atmosphere.
No, totally agree. And I think that Tennessee and what they're able to do Saturday will be largely determined on Nico, and as we've talked about, but it's got to be also his poise. And, he's been asked about the weather over and over. We talked about it a little bit, but it's going to be his poise and his leadership that's going to get Tennessee a victory from him if he's able to do that.
What you ready for the poll question I got up?
Yeah, lay it on me. And it's brought to you. Yeah, give it to me, and then I'm going to tell everybody it's brought to you by Double D Piping.
All right. Well, I'll tease the results. But Tennessee Ohio State is the Vols' biggest game since 2022 at Georgia, 2001 SEC title, 2001 at Florida, 1998 national championship game. So I'll give you guys the results after
a message from Double D Piping.
Yes.
Double D Piping provides full service fire protection on any scale. From residential homes to government facilities, we can assist any customer through design, fabrication, installation, inspection, and demonstration of fire suppression systems. With 30 years of service across 5 states and a full staff with over 40 years experience, our quality can't be beaten. Don't get caught watching what you could have prevented. Call Double D Piping.
Caleb, give us that poll question.
All right, results are 2001 SEC championship leads at 45%, 98 national title second at 27%. So some people are saying this is the biggest game since the national title game. 2022 at Georgia, 24%, 2001 at Florida, 6%. I want to address something real quick. Some people are asking why I left 2007 and 2004 SEC title games off that list because Tennessee played for both of those. But the reason, Dave, and I want to know if you agree with me on this, that's not as big as that one because neither of those games had a national title on the line for Tennessee. They weren't going to play for the national title.
Correct.
They won those games.
I don't think anybody thought that Tennessee was a real national title contender at the time. Did you?
No. 2004, they had lost 2 games. One was to a bad Notre Dame team at home. And in 2007, they backed into the SEC title at 9-3 because they had an easy SEC West schedule. I wanted to ask about that 2001 LSU game. I never thought about this, but you've talked to me about game plan. I never thought about it, but you're the one who says all the time, game planning is way more important than play calling in a game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we know the reason Tennessee lost was because LSU had a backup quarterback come in and Tennessee hadn't prepared for how to face him. Knowing Nick Saban the way you know him, do you think Nick Saban actually did have a game plan in case his quarterback went down and he had to change up his strategy? Is that a Nick Saban thing?
Yeah, there's no question in my mind.
So that's the difference in the game. Nick Saban had planned in case his quarterback went down, but John Chavis did not plan.
Yes, it wasn't play calling. It was they weren't prepared to man that A gap in the week of preparation before because that's not what LSU had done a lot of. And that's all they did when they just kept running Matt mock draw, Matt mock draw, Matt mock draw.
And Nick Saban had prepared for the Matt mock draw, hadn't he? Just in case Rohan Davey went down. So.
Yeah. Just in case. It's all right there.
I swear, I feel like Nick Saban can cover details in game plans in one day that other coaches take like 6 weeks to figure out. Is he that level of smarter than other coaches?
Yeah, probably. If you're a coach, you're probably just fine with having him in the booth.